welcome back to Relative Conscious. My name is Tony Brown.
Irvin Bryant.
Shout out to the DJ for making our beat.
At DW Made That on social media.
And follow us on social media.
It's at Kinda Woke on Instagram and Twitter. Relatively Conscious everywhere else. Go ahead and like, share, subscribe, follow, answer us in the comment section, replies, wherever is fitting. Somewhere down here.
Yeah.
Go ahead and let us know if change is going to happen. Do we want it to occur over time, slow cook, or does it got to happen tomorrow? Microwave.
Yeah. And so this is the map we came up with: progressive, conservative, how fast you change should happen, fast or slow. All the way over is like tomorrow. So if you're at the edge of fast, change needs to happen tomorrow. In the middle of fast, 5 years. In the middle right here, 10 years, 15, and then about 20 over here. So like the next generation can see the change that we want, right? I think most people in America politically think about 10 to tomorrow, they're thinking of tomorrow to 10 years, and they're thinking of how change should happen. And off to the side, we have Donald Trump. So, we'll play some later. But where on the map do you want to go and talk about first?
I want to talk about King first, because I don't know if you have him in the right place.
Yeah, so I have King around the 10-year mark, right? And so this is the one thing about this map, about this graph that's a little bit interesting, because what we're talking about, the issue we want to change kind of changes people's position on the field. We're talking about genital mutilation that's happening in some African countries. I would say that they need to stop tomorrow. Like tomorrow, they need to stop, right? If we're talking about generational wealth in the Black community, 5 to 10 years, where we're probably looking at for that change to happen realistically, right? And I think Dr. King, you were talking about integration. He probably wanted to happen much about it happening tomorrow, desegregation happening tomorrow. But in his last years of the People program, the stuff he was arguing for, I think he had a real sense it would take time for things to change. And so I think with Dr. King, some of the People's program, I think 10 years is a reasonable marker, something that he would be reasonable with changing some of the issues we have, better wages for workers, better living conditions, more money to be spent on education for Black students so the schools can be better textbooks, right? I would think he probably maybe wanted to happen tomorrow, but I think he was more realistic than that and was like, it's probably going to take 10 years. And that's okay.
All right. I mean, for him to want change slower than Gen X, I think it just feels inaccurate.
So Gen X is slower than him.
I don't understand that, because King is so impactful because of his ability to be measured and strategic and to get beaten down day in and day out. Like, I believe he was in it for longer. It just came to a head.
I think Generation X, they understand time better than we do. So now I constantly hear Generation X say, boomers to Generation X, is that you guys don't know how good you have it and how good things have gotten so quickly, right? There was a woman who was talking about the glass ceiling, and she was like, it's an issue, but like there was a time where if I was at the age to get married and have a baby, a company just wouldn't hire me, because like you're gonna have a baby at some point, so I'm not going to hire you. Today, you can't even ask that question, nor can it even be a reason why you want to hire somebody. That was a 20-year change, but I think most of them would say it happened, okay time period. It took a minute, but it finally got better. In maybe a lot of cultural issues, they're okay with happening more slowly than King would be. And economic issues, it probably is. They're also probably, I think economic too, they're probably okay with going pretty slow, because they're like, I know how long life is, and 10 years isn't that long of a time, and that's okay.
I think their pacing, their apathy, time to roast. Yeah. I don't have a lot of confidence in Gen X, to be honest with you. You put them appropriately on the progressive scale, I think, right in line with Biden and Barack Obama. But on the speed thing, I think they're far closer. I guess, I think they should be lower than Biden and Obama, I guess is really the answer. Because Biden and Obama have been moved to the left by their base, and Gen X has not been. Yeah, I think they're just closer to the center, or I don't know. It's just, they're just apathetic. I don't have a strong beat on them, I guess, because though society did progress in their time, their actions now put them in a place where basically they had things that they wanted to see done, and that's it, and no more. And so,
Yeah.
sure, like things that you said about workplace discrimination among a section of Gen X, by the way, because a lot of Gen Xers are conservative and say you should never have been in the workplace in the first place because you're a woman and you got to stay in a woman's place. This is women and men saying this. So not only are those views not universal, but they're weak because now when it comes to trans folks, they're like, hey, wait, hold up, what? Who? Are you serious? Get out of my restroom. Stop playing with me.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just hard for me to. I mean, moving down to progressive. That's probably what the solution is. Moving them down on the progressive scale.
Problem is I don't know how to gauge and how much punishment should it take for their anti-LGBTQ stances.
You call it punishment. That's funny.
Well, how much how much should we like?
Yeah, no. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm gonna put you next to Romney if you keep acting up.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that their stances are correct. I'm not saying I'm okay with them being so slow to come around to be more conclusive, but I do understand why they're so slow to coming around to be more inclusive when it comes to LGBTQ rights. I think because many of them are very much raised in church. The church has a very hard time dealing with that, and therefore many of them are just going to be less progressive than we are. Also, it's a drastic change it's a drastic change that affects her every day. Does that make sense? And I think they're scared of maybe not scared. They're just, I don't know. I feel like they're like, if I go into the restroom, a woman's there, or if I go into the restroom and
a penis is there.
Yeah, a penis is there.
I didn't expect it. I mean, you shouldn't see one, by the way. You shouldn't be seeing anybody's genital, but God forbid there be a penis on the other side of that stall door.
Yeah, just I'm gonna clutch my pearls, and it just because that's really weird to me. And I don't know what to do about that, And I don't know. It's very hard. It's very hard. This is another conversation I have another time because trans women are being killed. I think their life expectancy is 33 years old.
Man, young.
Yeah, so young. It's almost to the level of how many gay men were dying because HIV.
Yeah, with AIDS.
Yeah. It's that bad. And in the Black community, let me go ahead and tell us like it is. We're the ones killing them. It's not like it's white people coming into the Black community and killing trans women. It's us. It's Black men who can't deal with whatever that means for our sexuality, killing them, and they're not caring about it. Nobody's saying anything about it. And our families already abandoned them because they came out as trans. So now nobody's going to hold a candlelight vigil for them or try to bring the killers to bear about it. And that's a serious problem for Generation X. But I also understand the other side of it where they're like, it's so new. Anyway, where else do you want to go on the map?
Obama. So he's got, that's crazy that there's a distance between Biden and Obama that there is. That's what's throwing me.
Well, I mean, because there is, though. Obama's stances on foreign policy, Obama's stances on, he wasn't a very strong advocate for unions. Now, of course, many things Obama did were strategic because he was the first Black president. So he kind of had to walk very lightly, tread very lightly. But if he had ran in 2020, the 2020 Democratic primary, and we didn't have Obamacare, his ideal of healthcare reform would have been laughed out the room. It'd have been too weak. It'd have been like people said about Buttigieg or Michael Bloomberg's plan for healthcare. Like it's weak. You're not really fixing the issue. Biden has really moved towards the left in how he wants to change healthcare. Minimum wage, same way. Obama's like, hey, we can probably raise it $1, but 5 for 15, I'm not really down with that. He got laughed out of the room again in 2020. So when he ran for president, he did have one of the most progressive platform that a president ever ran on. But we have really taken leaps and bounds and jumps towards a new focal point. Also, I think it's his comments about BLM, the kind of comments we made, but that really made him enemy of Black Twitter and a lot of Black millennials because he spoke the truth. And they're
also mad at him about war crimes and support of Israel. And so, I mean,
yeah.
Those are the same, people. Like, if you're a leftist in any respect, then you're gonna, he is a president, so you kind of already don't like him a little bit.
Yeah.
Perspective, context, I'll put on this, since you said what you said, is that Biden is further left of Obama, not and I don't like the whole idea where like the party is the base is moving him. I think especially on the things that you said, the issues of minimum wage and things of that nature, is that time has moved him that far. 4 years ago, 8 years ago, 12 years ago, Biden and Obama, of course, together, could afford to put it on a slower timeline to complete these tasks. But since there has been no progress due to gridlock and a different administration in between Biden and Obama, now the clock is ticking, demand is higher, and public opinion, which true, has changed to the degree that I'm gonna need that $15 minimum wage right now. Whether or not that is, whether or not the economists agree, that's what folks want to happen. And if I was Biden, honestly, I'd be like, I thought this was a good idea in 2008. Yeah, it was over a decade ago. So we get to do it now. I'm tired of y'all.
Yeah, and so I have him also close to 5, because I think he wants to get most things he wants to get done was doing his 4 years. Abrams is a stand-in for Black millennials, so
it's what older. She is. How old is she now? I think about it. Is she a millennial?
Abrams is, how old is she?
Oh wow, she's way older. Good black don't crack. She's 47.
Really?
Oh, 73.
Yeah. Good black don't crack. I guess Cory Booker then?
Either way.
Yeah.
She's a progressive black person, very much of the political persuasion of the day. And so that puts her at the same speed of Biden, the same pace, but far more progressive. What are these progressive arguments that separates her from the president?
I would say it's probably a bigger idea of what the government can do to lift people out of poverty. So, and this is giving a favorable look at her stances. Paid family leave, a bigger role in healthcare, more subsidies for schools, more subsidies for HBCUs, a more inclusive stance on LGBTQ people, a stance that the Republican Party probably should not exist altogether, or that it's too undemocratic to even still be around. She is more pro-choice than I think he would be. Like, I think she is down for there being a bill, getting rid of the Hyde Amendment, a assault weapons ban, a more expansive gun control regulation, right? All these things that you would see professional Black millennials probably make these same arguments. If they're not of the Sanders, AOC squad ilk, then they are more of the Abrams ilk and are making those arguments. But Black Twitter is a whole other thing. You want to go to that next?
Yeah. So, I mean, we just keep getting more progressive and more impatient.
Yeah. Black Twitter is probably the most impatient group of Black people now, right? So even when it comes to like Joe Biden in the STEMI check, which is a meme.
Where is it at? Where is it at? Every public thing he does, it's like, ooh, that's a lot. That's a lot of whatever it is for somebody who owed me $2,000.
It's funny, but it also shows disease of what have you done for me lately.
Okay, you say that, and you said that before, and I don't know, because one, it's Twitter, right? So Twitter is mostly talk about everything. Everybody's putting on to a degree, doing it for the clout, as we like to say. And so if you're putting up this front about how much money you make, you're definitely fronting about how much you care about the president and what he does. And we also know that, Black Twitter didn't vote because their candidate didn't win. So y'all are not great at showing up when it comes to politics. And so I don't take too seriously the impatient anger or frustration with politicians. Now, I know the sentiment is real that like, relief needs to come quickly. And you did make a promise, and we're going to talk about, your failure to meet those promises. But I don't know if that's a big old inauguration for somebody who owed me $2,000. I don't know if it's that serious, It is very funny, but I don't know if it's dead serious.
One of my problems is that a lot of people, there was a lot of conversation I had with people who want to talk politics with me, who seem to only have a Twitter understanding of how politics work.
Probably.
And so we'll start to talk about have a conversation about something. They're like, well, I don't think that's happening fast enough, and we got to do this, that, another. And I'm like, hold your horses. The filibuster, none of that's going to happen, just so you know. Let's get rid of filibuster. Well, that's the reason why I don't want to do that. A very low understanding of low propensity voters, low political education. But I think some people aren't there's no scolding for not understanding nuance, and therefore there's celebration for being impatient and arguing the most wild ideals, you know.
So
And
basically, it's governed by the I like to deem as the will of the algorithm, where the most outrageous opinions, takes, views get bumped up, and all the nuanced stuff, especially with the character limit, doesn't really make the cut.
yeah, and the problem is a lot of people don't go any further than that. I got into a comment thread about the stimmy check. I did my political action for the day. I mean, bounce.
It's kind of, it's not unlike it's like an interactive cable news, because cable news did pump a lot of BS in the American homes. This is cable news that I can participate in.
Let's go down to the because we understand Sanders and them. We know what AOC in the squad stands for. But I want to talk about Fox News, Cruz, and OAN. That's where it's interesting to me. So when you see them, do you think they're in the correct placement?
Yeah, I did look at that a second ago, and I actually really like it. I don't know about Cruz. So, yeah, I don't know about Cruz because he's a real Machiavellian character. And so he does what is expedient or popular at the moment. And so I kind of don't have a beat on him. And he'll really say some wild stuff. I mean, he at CPAC the other day, he made a joke about the Cancun thing. Like, what's up with you? I don't really know what you're about.
He wants to be president. That's what it's about.
I mean, yeah, we know he's spineless. We know he wants to be president, and we also know it's not going to happen. But it's hard for me to say that he doesn't want conservatism to spread at the same pace as Fox News, because he will repeat the Fox News rhetoric of the day.
Well, something interesting that happens a lot of times that Ted Cruz, you gotta first thing, I need you to suspend disbelief real quick and go into the world of conservative media. Ted Cruz comes on there sometimes as the moderate, as the person who's going to debate with Sean Hannity and be like, well, Sean, I like your conservative argument, but we got to be slower than that. We got to be willing to take more moderate steps. Now, of course, Sean Hannity is arguing for, I don't know, burning down the welfare state and taking SNAP benefits from every single last person out there. And Ted Cruz would be like, well, how about we just increase the work requirement? Because some people need their help, but we can just increase the work requirement to 40 hours a week. So you gotta have a full-time job before we give you food stamps. Is weird. I don't, it's performance art. But he has made a name for himself as being the person who's gonna, I'm just conservative Fox News, but I'm gonna tell you that we need to do things a little bit slower. It's stupid. It's probably not real, but that is what his role is sometimes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, then it makes perfect sense, because they are at the fringe of conservatism. I think Fox News kind of bounces off the floor in the graph there, whether, depending on the day, and whether or not they're getting in trouble for saying something crazy, because they are facing lawsuits about the whole
Dominion voting machine.
Thank you. Dominion voting machines and the other company from California that's like very small.
Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah, so they've gone to full. The democracy is falling apart, and OAN just stays on that level.
Yes.
So, I mean, conservatives act like that, and they are flailing, trying to maintain their control of the political discourse.
Yeah, and so OAN is a stand-in for like the Storm the Capitol website that was up that the FBI had to take down because domestic terrorism was getting planned on it. Take a second to think that one in. But anyway, OAN is on that level of news, right? So Breitbart, OAN, the Oath Takers, the Proud Boys, the Peaky Blinders. No, that's a joke. But anyway, they're just as wild as we can be, as conservative as we can be. And it needs to happen now. It needs to happen today. Prayer needs to come back into school tomorrow. Trans people need to be, the rights to be taken away back tomorrow. All about women executives, get them out of here. The woman needs to be in the kitchen. And to prove I am not, exaggerating how the Proud Boys speak, I will show a video right now of the Proud Boys saying exactly that. You want to be in the kitchen, basically.
You talking about Gavin McInnes?
Yes.
Most women are happier at home. They are pretending that they like working, and they're not making money because they don't stay all night at the office. They don't go the extra mile. They don't work all weekend. You're making a mistake. You would be much happier at home with a husband and children.
Oh boy. Oh,
I mean, I'm literally shaking.
You just said you're single. You don't have a boyfriend. You're what?
That's
you're celibate?
my choice.
Yeah, look, you're miserable. You would be so much happier with kids around you tonight.
Yeah.
That was bold. Yeah. So I'm looking at trends now. We've pretty much covered the gamut, right?
Yeah.
Of this graph. It's diverging, right?
Yeah.
So as you get with the younger and blacker crowds, you get to the upper progressive fast corner, right? And it just kind of arcs that direction. And then when you go, and I don't know if age matters, but it's really time, right? The more with the times you are in conservative circles, the closer you are to another corner. And so I hate to beat a dead horse, but I'm gonna, go ahead, dig it up. We're divided. We've never been so divided before.
Yeah.
Just bludgeoning that horse. But I mean, evidence,
Yeah, and also the reason why I have Karen all the way over to the side is because a lot of times, this was funny to me, Karens will hear what Fox has to say and be like, well, I don't know about that. That sounds a little insane.
No, that's true. Yeah. I think you're right.
Yeah, but they'll still vote for whoever came on TV that day. They'll be like,
I think they're appropriately conservative. More they'll say something that'll make Mitt Romney kind of cringe.
Yes.
But they'll see Fox News and question it. But their pacing is a lot slower, and it's like, maybe you don't ban the Muslims.
Yeah.
But we gotta do something.
Yes.
And that's how I end up voting and rationalizing my vote for Donald Trump, because he's the only one who's going to address this problem. Now, I think he's going too far, and that but is a killer.
Yeah. Or I think he's too brash and abrasive. There we go.
Yeah.
This is something that Karen has literally said to me. I think Donald Trump is too brash and he's too abrasive. I don't like the way he speaks. I don't like my kids to speak like that. But he is fighting for the middle class. He's fighting for the blue collar worker, and therefore I feel okay voting for Donald Trump, because you want Bernie Sanders running this government. Did you know that Hillary Clinton was a devil worshiper? She's a Satanist. Did you know she let Bill Clinton have orgies in the White House? Did you know that? All types of just, what are you talking about, Karen? But the same type, but that's how they rationalize Trump. The reason why Trump's on this map, even though he's no longer president, is because CPAC, Conservative Political Action Conference, right? Trump gave the keynote speak on the last night to thunderous applause, saying all types of wild stuff. And Trump, like any good wrestling heel, plays the crowd. And he plays the crowd very well. And so as crazy as ONN and Fox is, it's how crazy Trump needs to be. But when Trump talks to Karen, he'll tone it down a little bit, and that is the, I don't know, the genius. I don't know what is the word looking for. That is what made him so good.
That's what's insidious about it, I think.
Yeah.
That I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how much credit to give him, but it's just it's a silent, not a silent killer, because you see it, but I mean it's so stupid it works. It's one of those.
Yeah,
it's that plan so stupid it just might work, and it just keeps on working. And you're like, man, how do you beat stupid? I know how to outwit somebody who's thinking, because then I can see their plan, and now I just have to best their plan. I come up with a better plan. But I'm like, bro, what is happening over here?
I think of Tom and Jerry's little nephew who comes to visit him, and he just always walking around into trouble, but never dies from trouble. And Jerry does not understand how it's going, how he's surviving. That's what I feel like it is, because Trump knows that, in 2016, the reason why I think a lot of people voted for him is because they thought he was more moderate than he actually was, because, he has made the Conservative Party give up their tax plan. Paul Ryan, he de-spined Paul Ryan on public television.
Sub-Zero wins. Flawless victory. Fatality.
De-spined him. Sub-Zero.
Basically, yeah. Paul Ryan now does worse in the private sector, because Trump wasn't with that, because Trump listened to the crowd and was like, what they really care about is banning Muslims, separating kids from their parents. That's what they really care about. They don't care about what you're talking about the Roth IRA. They don't care about the deficit. I know what they want. And so, are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here? And I think that what makes them so good and so fearful. My last takeaway, though, is that I really wish we understood time a lot better. When we talk about things need to be changing, I wish saying it's going to take a long time wasn't seen as being anti-change. Because I feel a lot of times, if you and I had a conversation on campus, and we're talking about some issue, and we were like, it's going to take a minute for that to happen. It's going to take a minute for these changes to be implemented. People will look at us and be like, what are you saying? You sound like a conservative to me. Do you not care about the issue? And I wish that saying something's going to take probably 10 years for it to get better wouldn't be so ruthless or seen as uncaring.
Let me explain that one to you. This is what I was talking about with Gen X.
Yeah.
One with them, I think they're both the proprietors and proponents of third wave feminism. What has been referred to in YouTube circles, which I very much enjoy, as girl boss feminism, lean in feminism, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, you got it, you can do it, girl, and it's the eat, pray, love feminism.
Yeah,
it's for them. It's for Sex in the City, right? It's just for a certain type of woman that is white, and so it doesn't address the healthcare system and how they'll sterilize or kill, by inaction, Black women, or plight of many women who are abused because their cultures, foreign to America, don't allow any freedom or agency for women. It's like, no, lean in, girl boss. I'm getting money. I'm getting paper. Oprah Winfrey, look at us. We're winning, right?
Yeah.
That's their progressivism. And so when they say it's moving slow and you need to be patient, many times it was not communicated that they were not trying to go to the same place that we were trying to go. They were not identifying with the millennial goals and the millennial complaints. And so millennials, by and large, this is where we get to the point where millennials are dissatisfied with Obama, disillusioned about American politics altogether. They say, forget what you were saying. I'm trying to just do it now. Let's riot. Let's protest. I'm tired of all this. Every time you tell me it's going to do slow, it doesn't happen at all, or it's not happening to the degree that is necessary. And so if we can get on the same page, which is far easier said than done, and that requires two things. I think Black Twitter discourse has got to relax a little bit because we do make a lot of enemies there. And I think Gen Xers are actually wising up. It's hard to continually say, maybe them trans people deserve to die.
Yeah.
Especially when as trans people gain more visibility. Shout out the internet. Shout out people like Laverne Cox and the like, who, just like with gay people, raise the profile. We get visibility because a lot of people don't know trans people. You just see, what's going on over there? It's a fight because people be fighting about the pronouns at GameStop or something stupid like that. And then, that's the only interaction you have. But just like any other group, rise in prominence, visibility, empathy is expressed. Twitter does what it does. And the needle moves. I think Gen X's heart is softening. And so if we can meet that as the youth, if I can still be called one of those, if we can meet that with some grace, I think we can, get something done in that middle timeline. Because I do believe in slow cooking and something's changing immediately. Bathrooms, you can't phase that in. You can't phase in the bathrooms.
Yeah, you just got to do it now. The last thing I would say is that when you brought up the saying in a slow amount of time and never actually happening, what it reminds me of, excuse my sports analogy, it reminds me when a team tells their fans, we're going to suck for a little bit, but I promise we're going to get back to the promised land. And so the Astros did this around 2010. They're like, we're going to suck for a little bit. We had
down bad.
We had 300 or 400 lost seasons. We got Altuve, Bregman, Correa. We got a bunch of good players. We winning a chip in 2017. Don't say anything to me about that chip. We still won it. But there are other teams like the 76ers who are like, we're going to suck for a little bit.
Trust the process.
Yeah, and the process was just horrible. And we weren't getting there. I'm like, well, it's been 5 years now, and I don't know what are we doing? And I feel like millennials and Gen Zers, they want to trust the process. They want to believe you, Obama, when you say we're gonna make this change. It's gonna take some time, but I don't want to end up like the Sacramento Kings, cheering for a bad team over and over again, continually just sucking and being like, well, that was 5 years ago. I looked around, it's been 5 years now, and the change still hasn't happened. And I'm still in the same place I was. My name is Tony Brown.
Irvin Bryant.
Peace.